The Rams lose their regular season finale to the Seahawks, but we'll tell you why there were more positives than negatives. We got winners and losers, an injury update, and we now know who the Rams will play in the wild card round of the playoffs. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramily, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your NFC West champion Los Angeles Rams. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you want to do me a huge favor, join the party, subscribe to the fastest growing Rams YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, hit the like button, drop some comments down below. My name is Doug McCain. Friends call me D-Mac. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. I've been covering LA sports for over a decade. 24/7 Sports, Bleacher Report, Dodgers Nation, SI. I do NFL radio for Westwood One. Today I am flying solo. The People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers, out today. He'll be back tomorrow. We've got a jam-packed show. We are breaking down the Rams' regular season finale, the 30-25 loss to the Seattle Seahawks. We'll talk a little bit about the Rams and the wild card round as well. But first, today's episode of Locked On Rams brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. Terms and conditions apply. So the Rams sitting most of their key starters on offense. They lose to the Seahawks in the regular season finale. They finish with the identical record of the Seahawks at 10-7, but thanks to strength of victory, the strength of victory tiebreaker that the Rams did have over the Seahawks, they're the team that wins the NFC West. They're the team that's headed to the playoffs. It is the Rams' fourth division title under Sean McVay. We'll get a chance to talk a little bit about that, but I do want to focus on the regular season finale and what we learned from that game. And let's kind of break things down and how things transpired. Now, one of the first things that I was looking for in this one was how would Blake Corum play? The Rams' third-round pick out of Michigan. It was a surprise kind of high pick there for running back, and you were wondering, would Blake Corum have an impact for this team in 2024? He's had some flashes, but didn't get the opportunities we expected. Of course, Kyren Williams established himself as one of the best running backs in the NFL last season, and that carried over into this season. He performed very well, but Sunday was an opportunity for Blake Corum to get the spotlight, to get runway, and he looked good at times, but he left the game in the second quarter. He suffered a forearm injury. He didn't come back. The second half, it was clear he was done. He was in street clothes. He had a sling. And after the game, Sean McVay said that he had fractured his forearm. He said that he's a tough, resilient guy. He's going to be a really good player for us for a long time, but he will miss the postseason. And in his limited action, he had 2 carries for 10 yards. He caught 1 pass for 12 yards. And yes, it wasn't the day we expected from Blake Corum. I will say, though, that Ronnie Rivers, he looks like a more than capable backup running back to Kyren Williams. He's someone that might get 5 carries a game, 10 carries a game at most, and he looked decent in the handful of snaps that he got. So I'm not overly worried about that because we know that this is Kyren Williams' backfield, and unless he got injured, you weren't going to see a high dose of Blake Corum. But still, you're making a deep run of the playoffs. You definitely want as much depth as possible. It's definitely not a good thing. Let's put it that way. Now, the defensive side of the football feature most of the Rams starters for spurts. You had Jared Verse, Byron Young, Braden Fisk, Kobe Turner, Kella Witherspoon, Quinn Lake. They all got playing time, and they did not perform well for the most part based on what we've seen for the last couple of weeks early on against this Seahawks offense that had Geno Smith out there trying to get some incentives, had Jackson Smith and Jigba and DK Metcalf and Zach Charbonnet, guys that are pretty serious weapons when they're right. But another thing we were looking at early on this one was Jimmy Garoppolo. And this, to me, felt like a little bit of an audition, not just for the Rams, but for the future in the NFL. And Jimmy Garoppolo, he looked decent. He looked really good at times, wasn't great the entire game, but he dropped a really nice 23-yard pass to Demarcus Robinson on the first play of the game. The Rams end up punting on their first 2 drives before they did get a field goal on their third possession. So the offense did come out slow. And the Seahawks offense, like we talked about, they scored 2 touchdowns early on. They scored a touchdown on their second drive and their third drive. Their first touchdown was a 4-yard TD to UCLA Bruin Jake Bobo, who was going up against Kobe Durant. Second one, a 20-yard TD by DK Metcalf on Witherspoon. So Akella Witherspoon in coverage on that one, not the best. And DK Metcalf was able to find the ball back of the end zone. And the offense for the Seahawks was moving the ball pretty easily. But then this Rams offense, they started to get it going. Jimmy Garoppolo, they found a rhythm. They end up scoring in 6 of their next 7 possessions after those 2 punts early on in the game. Tyler Higbee, he caught the first touchdown of the game for the Rams, a 6-yarder. It was the second touchdown since he's been back, so a 6-yard TD for Tyler Higbee. And then Jimmy Garoppolo threw an interception in the second quarter that he underthrew. Wasn't a good ball, but give him credit for bouncing back. On the very next drive, he gets the Rams into a position where they kick a field goal, and he hits Demarcus Robinson with a 31-yard pass, a little 31-yard gainer there to set up a 58-yard field goal attempt to Joshua Carty, and Joshua Carty, he ended up drilling that field goal. So the offense early on came out slow, but doesn't matter if it's Matthew Stafford or Jimmy Garoppolo. That's just what we've seen from this team for this season. And then the second half, though, the Rams, they go 40 yards on 9 plays. Joshua Carty hits another long field goal, this time for 57 yards. And then the Seahawks, they come back, they score a touchdown. They go up 24-16. Then here come the Rams on their own. They went on a 70-yard drive on 9 plays. Tyler Johnson gets a nice little touchdown catch, 4 yards there to put the Rams back in this one. And then the defense, they had their best series of the game. They get a quick stop. The Seahawks are forced to punt, and then they move the ball all the way down the field for the 4th straight drive. They get another 3 points thanks to a 38-yard field goal by Joshua Carty, and they take a 25-24 lead late. And it didn't feel like it was enough at the time, especially when you consider the Seahawks offense and the way that they were moving the football, especially through the air. And the Seahawks did just that. They marched down the field. They get a go-ahead touchdown pass. Geno Smith to Noah Fant. They did not convert on the 2-point attempt, so the Rams still had a chance to win this one. They were down 30-25 with 3:19 left, and they put together a drive. They end up going for it on 4th down earlier in that drive. They converted to Higbee, and then 4th down, they tried to set up a nice pass play to Jordan Whittington. Garoppolo just underthrows that one, and you're on the 9-yard line with 21 seconds, and the pass goes incomplete to Jordan Whittington. They turn the ball over on downs, and that was all she wrote. The Rams lose that one, but they were right in this one. They had an opportunity to win, and unfortunately, they just couldn't convert there late. And I think if you are this Rams team, a couple things to look at from this one is, yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo looked good. He went 27 for 41, 334 yards, 2 touchdowns, did have the interception, but he looks like he can be a quality backup quarterback in this league. I certainly wouldn't be against having Jimmy G back with this group, depending on what they're looking to do. And then Jordan Whittington. I thought Whittington was really outstanding in the opportunities that he got. I mean, that last throw was just underthrown. It was a tough one to get to if you're Whittington. It's unfortunate because for the most part, Garoppolo made some nice throws, and when you have not started in a game for a long time because you're a backup, you got to give him credit there. But I do think that Whittington made his case to play in the playoffs, to have an expanded role, and I looked at just the versatility. He had 98 total yards, and it wasn't just receptions, kick returns. He had a 37-yard kick return, had a 43-yard kick return. He also was used in jet sweeps. He's big. He's physical. He makes things happen when he gets the balls in his hands. So I really like Jordan Whittington out there, and I definitely thought that he definitely strengthened his case to get another opportunity to have an impact for this team. Not next year, but potentially during the playoffs. But coming up next, we are giving you our big takeaways from the Rams' regular season finale loss to the Seahawks. We'll give you some more winners and losers, and we'll talk about the Vikings. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. Growing your small business in 2025 comes down to how well you can hire. And let's face it, better hires start with smarter insights. That's where LinkedIn comes in. With the strongest hiring data available, LinkedIn helps you identify the right candidates, giving you the confidence to make the best decisions for your business. I've used LinkedIn Jobs myself, and I can tell you it's a game changer when it comes to hiring the right fit. Small businesses are wearing a lot of hats, so every hire is crucial. LinkedIn gets that. That's why they connect you with the best candidates using data you won't find anywhere else, from unique skills and interests to the connections you share. LinkedIn helps you find the right person for the job. In fact, 72% of small businesses say LinkedIn has helped them find high-quality candidates. I know from experience how important it is to make the right hiring decisions. Having access to insights like what skills candidates have or how they're connected to your network, that helps you feel confident when you pull the trigger. Hire smarter this year and find your next great hire on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? That definitely happened to me. I had a few subscriptions that I didn't even realize I was still paying for, and Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all the app's premium features. For me, one of the best features is the subscription tracker. I've used it to cancel services I wasn't using anymore. I've already saved a ton. Plus, with their goals feature, I've been able to automatically set aside money for my future. No more stressing out about budgeting every month. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. And we are off and running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Also, a special shout out to those everyday listeners out there watching and listening to every single episode of Locked On Rams. Cannot thank you enough. You guys make this show go. You should join that Every Listeners Club too. If you have not yet, you just watch and listen to every single episode, and then you'll be locked on to your favorite football team. You got the playoffs coming up. This is the time to subscribe and join the movement, Locked On Rams. But here in our second segment, we're going to continue to break this one down, and we're going to throw out some winners, some horns up, horns down, and it's pretty much all horns up. And the first one I want to start with is Joshua Carty. The Rams are going to need a capable field goal kicker if they're going to have a deep run in the playoffs. Look at the 49ers. Look what happened with Jake Moody, right? I mean, you need reliability, and they went the young kicker route. They went the let's draft the highest kicker in the NFL draft, and that's how we're going to find our guy. And yes, Carty has had some ups and downs. There were some episodes we were wondering if they were going to look at some other options, but no, he is clicking. He is figuring things out, and I think that his confidence is sky high heading into the playoffs. He made all 4 of his field goal attempts on Sunday, and he just looks comfortable out there. He just looks confident, and they weren't just chip shots. He made one from 37. He made one from 38. The other 2 deep shots, one from 57 and one from 58, and both of them were his longest of the season. So give credit to Joshua Carty. I think that not only helps you from the standpoint that, hey, we're going to get points that way, and if the defense forces a field goal, you can feel good sending your guy out there to get those big 3 points, but also if you're Sean McVay, that's going to change the way you call plays. That's going to change what you do on 3rd and long. That's going to change what you do in certain situations where if you're not confident in your kicker, you're going to be on the more aggressive side. You might go for it on 4th down, right? So I love the fact that Joshua Carty feels like he's peaking at the right time heading into the playoffs, and this looks like it could be another really nice pick. They figured out with the punter with Ethan Evans. I think they're pretty close to saying to themselves they figured this thing out with Joshua Carty. So definitely a nice little Carty party on Sunday. It's unfortunate they weren't able to get the win. Now, another big winner, Tyler Higbee. T. Higbee, he continues to show what this Rams offense can look like with a cable tight end. He's a trustworthy blocker. He can make the blocks. He's not fast and explosive, elite, anything like that, but his hands are trusted, especially on 3rd down, especially when he's not the top option. And he ended up making 5 catches on 7 targets for 46 yards, had a touchdown. So I love seeing Tyler Higbee now, because sometimes during his seasons we've seen him wear down. Well, it's not he's in wear down mode, right? He's at the start of his season, looks like he's fresh, has a lot in the tank. Now that they brought him back at the right time, and I certainly think that you're going to see them go to him in big spots on Monday against the Vikings. And another winner, I got to go with Emmanuel Forbes Jr. It's another player I said that we need to have our eyes on, not because of what he can do this year, but of what he has a potential to do for this team in the future and the role he could have. And Forbes, he played 52 of 55 snaps. They left him out there pretty much the entire game, and he allowed 3 catches on 5 targets for 38 yards. One of those 3 was a 22-yarder on a dig to DK Metcalf. Next play, he was on Metcalf downfield, and Metcalf got some separation, but still, it was an incomplete pass. So he was hanging with DK Metcalf. It was not the easiest task to make your debut for a team with the weapons that the Seahawks possess. The other 2 catches that were against him, one was by A.J. Barner. That was a 6-yard one and a 10-yard one. Both of them went for first downs, but Forbes only allowed 1 catch to those 3 targets against a wide receiver in DK Metcalf. So he ended up with also 5 tackles. That was tied for the second most on the team. So I really like what I saw out of Forbes. Not just the coverage, but also the fact that, hey, this guy is 6 feet, 180 pounds, but he looked like a willing tackler. He was not afraid to go up there and stick his nose in there and see what he could do. So I definitely am curious to see what he looks like with an entire offseason in the Rams system heading into next year. I think that they'll tap into some of that potential for the former number 16th pick. I mean, we're talking about a first-round talent in Forbes. And then, of course, we talked about earlier, Jimmy Garoppolo, 27 of 41, 334 yards, 2 touchdowns, had the interception where he underthrew his guy, goes for a pick, but he was dropping some dimes in there. I mean, he really was. I was impressed by Jimmy G in this one. I think for the most part, you saw a guy out there that still kind of knows what he's doing, right? He's a guy out there that looked like he wants to play a few more years in the league, and that there's going to be teams out there, if it's not the Rams, that are going to be interested in him. Now, as far as other big takeaways in this one, as far as they apply to the rest of the playoffs, we talked about Joshua Carty. We talked about Jordan Whittington making a strong case, especially with the recent performance of Cooper Kupp, to potentially get some more action. You can't understate it. I mean, you really can't. He had 3 catches for 86 yards, had 2 carries for 12 yards. He had a jet sweep on a 4th down that got a first down. I mean, he caught that 50-yarder. He was just wide open. The DB fell down. It was a really nice double move on that one. So I think he's making it impossible for the coaches not to consider using him. We talked about Ronnie Rivers as a backup as well. Rivers had 12 carries for 48 yards. Clearly, I don't think the Rams are going to be missing too much from Blake Corum because I think he needs more time to develop. But, I mean, look at Ronnie Rivers, man. As an RB2, 12 carries, 48 yards, had 4 catches for 34 yards, so 82 total yards on 16 touches. I mean, I like Ronnie Rivers, and look, I'm not going to lose any sleep for the backup running back spot. So, all in all the positions that we're kind of looking at, the guys that stepped into those roles performed well. And the other thing, too, is the defense. And we're going to talk about that coming up next and why we shouldn't be overly concerned by the fact that the Rams, with most of their starters getting time, giving up 30 points against the Seahawks in their regular season finale. All right, let's talk about FanDuel. NFL fans, you can start this year with a big return on FanDuel, of course, America's #1 sportsbook. If you get a hunch in the middle of the game and you think now may not be a bad time to get in there, you can check out all the latest stats. You can view live play-by-play, and of course, there's so much more on the same page where you're placing your bets. So we're going to get started at FanDuel with $200 in bonus bets. That's guaranteed when you play your first $5 bets. Let me say that again. $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Let's take a look at the current lines. The Rams 1.5-point underdogs against the Minnesota Vikings. Wild card round, Monday Night Football. So if you're confident in your Rams, you can make some money. You're going to find this and so much more over at FanDuel. You got to go to FanDuel.com and download the FanDuel app on your phone, and they're going to get you started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Okay, in our third segment, just want to talk a little bit about the defense. I saw Rams fans freaking out a little bit just because there were starters playing in this one. The Rams do give up 30 points, but you got to put things into context. One, they had 336 total yards of offense. And a Seattle team that puts up 30 points, 336 total yards. You had 18 first downs, but the Rams did force 4 punts. That was twice as many as the Rams had in a game where they were playing with their backups. So you forced 4 punts, 336 total yards. The issue with the Rams on Sunday was they allowed the Seahawks to convert 6 for 11 on third downs. The Seahawks converted 6 of their 11 third down opportunities. You also had some big plays through the air that they allowed, but it's not like the Seahawks were just going up and down the field with ease. It's not like they were dominating them in every phase of the game. And I think the most important takeaway for me was, yes, you did have key starters that were playing, but you also had guys rotating in and out there throughout the entire game. It wasn't a standard Rams Chris Shula defense game where your starters are getting a lion's share most of the game. I guarantee you if Jared Verse and Kobe Turner and all these guys are out there the entire game playing like it's the playoffs, like it's a game that means something, that they're not giving up 30 points to the Seahawks, because this defense has played really well for more than just 1 or 2 games. In fact, you give 30 points on Sunday to the Seahawks, the Rams had allowed 24 points combined in their last 3 games. So this is a Rams defense that deserves our trust. With the starters in there in full-time action, you're not going to get blown up like that. Yes, the Bills scored a ton of points, and we know that they're capable of doing that. And this Vikings team, they present some problems, but I still think that you just can't take too much away from a defensive performance in a regular season finale where you already have your division clinched. So I'm not worried about that. Now, a little bit on the Vikings. One thing I will say is bulletin board material-wise, after the game where Dan Campbell goes up to Kevin O'Connell and he says, "We'll see you in a couple weeks." Sure, it's just a nice thing to say to a coach. But if I'm Sean McVay, I'm reminding my players that. Because this Vikings team, they're a 14-win team. Everyone thinks the NFC North is this super division this year. And yes, they've had a lot of success. But let's not forget, this Rams team has a ton of talent. They're playing at home, and they had already beat this Vikings team at home this season. They already beat them once. And Detroit, they beat the Vikings in Week 7 and 18. The Rams, they beat the Vikings in Week 8. And it was the first game that Puka Nacua came back. And in that game, the Rams, that was one of their best games of the year. They had 386 yards total offense, and they held that Vikings offense to just 276 yards. That was their 5th lowest of the season. So you can beat a team once, you can do it again. Yes, it is tough to beat a team twice, but I still am confident that this Rams team either matched up with the right team. I really do. I think with Jaden Daniels and the Commanders, yes, that's the team that has a rookie quarterback, and you're going to have the least amount of fans there from the opposing team, and that's all true. But the Rams have struggled against mobile quarterbacks, and Sam Darnold, he has not played his best football of late, and he did not look good against the Lions on Sunday Night Football. He had a 43.9 completion percentage. That was his lowest. He had 166 passing yards. 4 yards per attempt. That was his worst game of the season. So I think if you're going to be running into a surprise player of the year in Sam Darnold, now's the time to do it. I like our quarterback in QB1 in Matthew Stafford. We're going to have plenty of time to preview this game. We're going to talk more about it tomorrow, so I'm going to save a lot of this preview. We'll do some crossover episodes. It's going to be a jam-packed week here on Locked On Rams. But, hey, we're in the dance, baby, okay? 49ers, they're in Cancun. They're joined by the Cardinals and Seahawks. The Rams are doing what they do. Winners win. And the Rams, they got a ticket to the dance, and we're going to see what they do on Monday night. And we're going to continue to break this one down. But just been a great regular season, but now it's time for playoff football. And you know what that means, because you've experienced a lot of that with Sean McVay. And look, you would have liked to possibly against the Commanders, but give me a home game against the Vikings. And I like this Rams team. We're going to talk all about it this entire week. But that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Rams. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. And until next time, whose house is Locked On Rams house?